Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. And today I am actually asking a question because I just read an article that I thought was really thought-provoking and thought this would be a very interesting discussion to have and the current status of these massive tech companies. And so the question is, by allowing Facebook, Google, etc. to be a monopoly, is the government endorsing censorship? Now, this article is from Cory Doctorow, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and I would like to quote him. We're often told that it's not censorship when a private actor tells you to shut up on their own private platform. But when the government decides not to create any public spaces, say by declining to create publicly owned internet infrastructure, and then allows a handful of private companies to dominate the privately owned world of online communication, then those companies' decisions about who may speak and what they may say become a form of government speech regulation, albeit one at arm's length. I don't think that the solution to this is regulating the tech platforms so they have better speech rules. I think it's breaking them up and forcing them to allow interoperability so that their speech rules no longer dictate what kind of discourse we're allowed to have. And I think that's actually a very interesting premise here, which is true. If the government had a competing product to, let's say, Facebook or even Google, then by default of that, the rules of the amendments in terms of freedom of expression and all of that would apply, whereas a private corporation, one that is owned by, let's say, the shareholders, primarily in this case for Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, they have the ability to dictate what they want to do, to ban who they want to ban, to pivot their rules and their laws as they see fit to their corporate culture. That's one of the things that being a private corporation has the benefit of, is that you can pretty much do whatever you want short of breaking the law. And by virtue of that, the US government has come in and attempted to regulate these things. Also, we have a competitive marketplace, even though these companies have been locked down. So as a perfect example of this, I post my video version of this onto YouTube, and then I share that link out. And there's a couple of smaller sites out there that will take that video and then replicate it out there. One of my viewers or listeners basically sent me a message saying, hey, why don't you go ahead and replicate this to a website called BitChute that I had never even heard of before. And when I looked into it, all I had to do was create an account and then link it to my my YouTube account, and it would automatically move that video over there. And it's very interesting. And that's obviously a much smaller site. They believe in freedom of speech, good, bad, ugly, and otherwise, compared to YouTube that has a lot more control on their content in terms of what they will and will not allow, over there. And YouTube obviously is the massive player. But this is actually very interesting. And the way that these corporations can position themselves is that they have no natural competitors. And I will give you the example for Facebook. When Facebook went in front of Congress in 2018 due to the Cambridge Analytica scandal, that was a complete mess when it came to US lawmakers trying to talk to Mark Zuckerberg about what his company is, why it's a monopoly, and what his competitors are. And Zuckerberg had the position to basically say, well, we don't have any real competitors because nobody does what we do. We have one part of it could be competitive with Twitter. Another part could be competitive with Signal for messaging. These kinds of things. But there's no one holistic organization that matches Facebook product to product. It's the same with Google. Google has a search engine, an advertising engine, and then they offer you things like email and calendar and a whole bunch of other free features. Facebook doesn't really do that. They're not really competitors in that sense, but the competitors that Google does have, they would be specific to, let's say, search engine. Yahoo would be the closest, and Yahoo isn't even denting Google at this point. Amazon would be another one, given everything that they sell, that they host, and all of this. And so I think that Mr. Doctorow here has a really interesting point in the sense that, yes, what is it? Is Facebook basically a platform that is going to allow you to basically say whatever you want to do? And I don't care if you are, a bleeding heart super liberal or a dyed-in-the-wool Nazi. There are rules that Facebook imposes on you, but are they allowed to do that? And I think that that's an interesting comment. I mean, nobody obviously wants to see the proliferation of Nazism or anything like that, definitely myself included, but we have freedom of expression. And that's why the ACLU has defended those guys in court. I think it's an interesting thing, and I think it's something that we need to discuss, because if we are looking at basically the uniqueness of what Facebook is and nobody can do it, then nobody else can do it at that level, then by virtue of that, they would become a platform for free speech, and the government should basically be saying, yes, you have to allow everything, because there's no other avenue for somewhere else to turn to reach such a large audience. I think it's fascinating. I'd be very curious to hear what you guys think, and obviously feel free to call me an idiot as usual. But it's something that we can't really ignore, and I think it's something that we need to discuss. And when you've got, and I will say this on the flip side, when you've got these companies that are this massive, when they have problems, they're almost too big to fail. Think about this. Facebook has been violating our data privacy for almost a decade now, since about 2011, 2010 or so, when all of this stuff started erupting and the FTC first leveled their initial fines on Facebook, which I believe was 2011. They have been perpetually violating it. We have been perpetually finding data breaches and dumps and data mining that we didn't even think, due to lack of control, and there's been no consequence for them. Conversely, if we look at Amazon, anytime they've had any kind of security issue, data breach, whatever that is, they don't tell anybody. They just shut the heck up and say, oh yeah, we see the issue, we'll fix it, don't declare reports, are not transparent at all. And I have no idea what Google is doing with this, although I know Google has research teams and all of this kind of stuff, and they are rare, or at least they seem to be more rare on having data breaches, but for all we know, they're just not declaring them either. And so what do we do with that? And I think that's an interesting topic that needs to be discussed. So please, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, good, bad, and ugly. And once again, feel free to disagree. Feel free to call me an idiot, or feel free to agree. But here we are. Should the Facebooks of the world be free and open public platforms, or as private corporations owned by Mark Zuckerberg and other shareholders, should they be able to do what they want to do? And if it's both, then how do we reconcile that? And I think that's one of the real questions here. So with that is your news/discussion of the day. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well, where I hope I'm not censored. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.